going on? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Build Series live here in New York City. I'm Kevin Kenny, and our guest today, one of the most prolific rock acts in music history. Shinedown is here. That is loud. It's pretty good. We got a good crowd today, it sounds like. Now, I say most prolific, or one of the most prolific, because get this, 22 singles throughout their career for Shinedown. Every single one of them, top 5 on the Billboard rock charts. Absolutely incredible. They returned May 4th with a brand new record called Attention, Attention. Give it up for Shinedown.
Hello.
What's happening?
What's going on?
Thank you guys and ladies for showing up. It's awesome to see you.
We have we see some familiar faces, so it's awesome.
We do?
Yeah,
That is cool, right?
That is
cool
great,
thing about
yeah.
hitting the same towns and whatnot, seeing some familiar faces. But this is a loud crowd. We've got a good crowd today. This is gonna be a very fun chat.
Rock
it's always
and roll
fun
crowd,
when the rock bands come through. You know what I mean? There's also there's an extra level to the fandom of rock that I definitely appreciate. But you guys, I mean, I said it in the open. 22 singles, all top 5. Half of those are #1 hits. I mean, that's crazy. If you guys were like a baseball team, you'd have like the best batting average, I think, of all time. I mean,
I think it's because we
actually
just
are
don't
a
get
baseball
complacent.
yeah,
We're not. We haven't.
Also, we're a baseball team.
Yeah, softball.
low key, low key, low key.
Yeah, low key.
No, but that's amazing. I mean, it's you, just for if you don't know at home, you're watching, or even if you're here live with us, it's you guys, and then just above you by, I think, 1 now is 3 Days Grace, and then above that is Van Halen. That's all that really stands in the way of you guys having the most number.
When did we find out about that? Because that was recent.
Yeah, we heard about it about a year and a half ago, and I think 3 Days Grace is actually tied now with Van Halen. So I think they're even.
And that's like a totally surreal thing for me because the first band I was ever in was a Van Halen cover band. Like Eddie Van Halen is my end all be all, and I've never met him. I don't know if I want to or not, but that's just huge, man.
Yeah, always roll the dice with the heroes, right?
A little bit, yeah. Can be.
But that's got to be a little bit surreal, right? And I mean, I'm sure with a band like you guys, as accomplished and as much as you've achieved over your career, we could spend this entire episode talking about the accomplishments. But to be honest, I'm far more concerned with sort of the why behind all the accomplishments. And I wanted to pose it to each of you individually, because I'm sure the answer could be different. Is what is it about Shinedown that has made you guys so successful, that has made this music really transcend the rock genre, cross over into just mainstream music and be so long-lasting?
Honesty.
Honesty.
He took my answer.
And being necessary.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is if you take everything out of the equation, the fact of the matter is all of these songs that we've written through the years, with this record, which is a huge accomplishment, that we were able to not only record it, but getting ready to present it to the world. None of these songs, man, were made up. We can't pull it out of thin air. We have to live it. A lot of the songs have to do with the people that we've met over the years, the situations we've been in. And there's a lot of humility with the 4 of us. We actually genuinely care about each other. We could all ride on separate buses if we wanted to. We choose not to. And the fan base. We've always said that we only have one boss. It just happens to be everybody in the audience. And that's true. That's real.
I love that.
To be 100% with everybody in this room, a lot of this record was inspired by the fan base.
A lot.
I mean, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I had this, when we were working on writing and producing and even mixing the record, the visual I kept with me as of our fans, and the dedication they have to rock music and to our band, and we just wanted to inject that into the record. And our fan base is an extension of our band. We were talking about this yesterday on the ride in, that sometimes the rock genre and their fan base is looked at as some subgenre now, and just some leftover of a bygone era or something. And we go out every night and we see thousands and thousands of rock fans that are just completely dedicated to what they love. And the fact that they love us for what we do is such an honor. So
we love them right back.
Yeah. And that's not fan service either. That's the truth. And so we just wanted to be unapologetically rock on this record, really, and I kept our fans in my mind, and that visual of that view that we're so blessed to have, which is standing on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, and just it made me excited to create something that we could deliver to them.
And one thing too with the album also, because it was done last year, normally when we get off a touring cycle, we just take the following year to do the album. And we decided not to do that with this particular record, so we actually had tours booked last year. One of them, we got an opportunity of a lifetime to do, we spent 44 days in the UK with Iron Maiden. And
Yeah, man.
Yes, clap
And
for Iron
learn-
Maiden.
and learned a great deal about, you know, a band that truly has a legacy. Not only the band themselves, but their fan base as well. I have never seen just that kind of loyalty to a band. I mean, the only other band I know of that has that kind of loyalty from fans is us. And, you know, we take that very seriously. But there was this young man, he was about 15 years old. It was in one of the meet and greets during the Maiden tour. And there was probably 50 people in the meet and greet. And he had asked me, he said, hey, after you're done, could I talk to you about something after you finish signing and doing pictures? I said, yeah. So we finished up. I went back to the young man and I was like, shoot, what you got? He said, I have a request. And I said, okay. And he talked about our catalog. He talked about the fact that he knows we're in the middle of making a new record. And he said, can you make it heavier? And there was something interesting about the way that he said it, because heavy can be put in a lot of different meanings. Heavy can mean percussive, heavy can mean sonically, heavy can mean lyrically. But I think we all got where he was coming from. There's a little bit of a wink to him with the fact that Devil was the first single, because it's the beginning of the story on Attention, Attention, but he asked for it to be heavier, so it's about to get heavy. I'm just making the point that we're listening to our
He
audience.
also asked for it to not be so self-helpy.
He did say, don't
he
make it so
didn't. He said that?
self-helpy. Yeah. Well,
Which I thought
I
was
love
great.
that though, man. Like I love the fact that our base, whether they've been there from day one or they're just kind of finding out about the band, they have no problems being straight to the point of whatever they want to ask. I love that.
They're very honest.
Do you think that comes from the honesty of the music? Do you think because the music is so honest, they feel like they have the comfort to sort of talk to you that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we started an honest conversation with honest music and honest lyrics. I mean, nothing that you've ever heard by Shinedown is a made-up story. It's all come from somewhere, a real experience. Especially this record, because this record is autobiographical. It's all of the experiences you're going to hear about on this record are all what we lived over the past 2.5 years.
Right.
So
Somebody,
we're not.
Somebody in the band went through them.
Yeah, and so I think that out of that honesty, you get honesty in return, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I appreciate when our fan base is honest with us.
Now, on the topic of honesty, I know that you guys sort of had this collective discussion heading into this record that nothing was off limits in terms of topic, in terms of things that you're going to explore. And it obviously, I got to listen to the record. It's an amazing record. It's going to be out everywhere again May 4th. But when I heard that you had to have this talk of, okay, with this one, with Attention, Attention, or what would become Attention, Attention, nothing's off limits. Was there a point in your careers where certain things you knew, I'm just going to shy away from that? Maybe you were honest, but maybe you weren't willing to go towards certain areas.
Not that, I don't think, but a conversation that Brent and I had, which is, and I have to say, at first it wasn't really this conversation of nothing is off limits. I think we wrote a few songs and didn't really know what we were writing about in a way. I mean, we knew what each song was about. We didn't know it was going to become this or a larger story. And I remember, Brent coming to me with some lyrics for a song we were working on, a song called "Get Up," which is on the record. And he didn't bring me the lyrics right away, or what he had so far lyrically, because the music was sort of done and the melodies were sort of laid out. He kind of hid them from me for a few days, and then he finally showed up at the studio. I finally got him through the door, and he goes, yeah. I've had this for a few days, but I was nervous to tell you about it. And he's like, I wrote this song about you and about my depression issues that I deal with. And we finished that song, we finished the lyrics, we recorded it, and then we kind of looked at each other, and it was like, I think now it's okay to talk about all of the other baggage. Yeah. And into his addiction issues and that everything we deal with that, everything the band deals with my depression, and it kind of became okay at that point to open ourselves up a little more personally than we probably ever have.
And it also became the fact that there was no more concern about crossing a line because we just removed the line.
I think I think in the past too that it was always honest music and it was about us, but maybe we hit it in ambiguity. Why can't I talk?
Ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
That's a tough one. That's like $100 word.
Yeah.
I was going to say another word and I changed it, but I think we would hide it kind of in the sheets a little bit to maybe disguise ourselves from that we even were, maybe trying to convince ourselves that we weren't talking about ourselves in the past. And I think this record, it's all pretty plainly laid out there.
That's been the actually the most freeing thing about this record is, and I was going to make the point that he made, was that we've always written honestly. It's just like sometimes maybe after the song is out, maybe we describe it a little differently than what the genesis was for that, what the seed was for the song. Maybe it was something else, and we kind of find more meaning in it after the fact, and it kind of gets, we kind of explain it a little differently. On this, it's just no, this is what it's about, and this is what it is. It's about some four guys that either through sadness or whatever, anger, with depression and addiction issues or whatever, kind of destroyed ourselves and had to rebuild everything. So,
and the other thing too, going back to that young man, when we were in the UK, one of the other things he said was, "I just want you to punch me in the chest." And
then Brent did. Then he actually punched him in the chest.
And what I'm getting at,
still a lawsuit pending.
yeah.
But what I'm getting at is the fact that it wasn't about sugarcoating something, and it wasn't about being safe. He stepped up to us, and he kind of looked at all four of us, and he said, "I know you're hungrier than you think you are." And that was inspiring because this is our 6th record on Atlantic Records. We've been a part of Atlantic Records. We're talking about almost 2 decades. And the one thing that Atlantic has always allowed us to do, it was born from Ahmet Ertegun, was let the artist be able to develop. Let the artist be an artist. You're not going to be able to all the time, just hurry someone along. You got to give, certain people need time to hone it in and figure it out. And, with our label, they've never pressured us to hurry up on an album. And
nor have they ever policed us.
Never.
Which is
absolutely
it's
not.
Kind of like you go do your thing, especially when it comes to self-producing a record, which Eric is the bass player in this band and produced a record. You kind of would get a side eye about that, and they didn't police us at all on this record, and they never gave us a time limit, and they never have, and so that's
and the same thing with the management company, because we've been managed, by Indigoot and McGathy Promotions and Bill McGathy for 2 decades. We never even took a meeting with another manager. Wow. And, we're very, very lucky. We really have an infrastructure that is a family, and these individuals, Julie Greenwald and Craig Kalman at Atlantic Records, what Zach just said, they have never, ever policed us. They are like, turn it in when you're ready. And we don't take that lightly because not every label is like that. And for them to allow us to have the time that we needed, we gave them everything we had.
Hell yeah, it did.
I'm not going to say there wasn't some nervous laughter from the label and management occasionally, like, "Hey, we haven't heard anything yet." Well, it's coming.
You guys still there?
You'll be okay.
we're
and,
working on it.
and Steve Robertson, who's our A&R at Atlantic, who's been a champion of ours from the beginning. A testament to him is he, like Brent said, he never called me one time asking to hear anything. He knew what the songs were. We turned in demos, so he knew the material was there. But hearing the finished product, he showed up basically when we were done. It wasn't mixed yet, but all the tracking was done, and he showed up and put on a brave face and came in and listened, and I think he was pretty blown away by what he heard. So, but they really did, man. They let us. This record more than any of the others is 1000% Shinedown. I mean,
Yeah, they let us be ourselves.
there's no other.
Rare, like you said.
The only person creatively, aside from Mark Obreski, who did this amazing artwork, the only person to touch the audio was Ted Jensen when he mastered it, and the rest of it was us from the beginning to the end.
It's sort of a cliche thing to say with a new record, right? This is your most personal yet. A lot of that term gets thrown around, but really, this is the most personal Shinedown record between the honesty that we talked about and then Eric, you producing the entire record.
Yeah, the whole and mixed it. Yeah,
It's amazing.
And mixed it.
And was that, I don't want to say it was happenstance, but was that the initial idea going in, or were you just kind of working on stuff? I know you brought the guys arrangements, I think, or compositions.
I don't think he wanted to produce it at first, and we
Right.
were like, I don't think anybody else can produce this.
Yeah.
when we were
Really good saying about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, when Steve Robertson first had the conversation, the business conversation about me producing the record, I said, because I told him, I said, I know what the scope of this record is. I know what it wants to be. I know what these songs want to become. It's not to say I had it all figured out, because there are several songs, including the Human Radio, which is the other track that's out there right now, that it took a long time to come into being. But I knew like I said, the easiest way to put it is I knew what it wanted to be. You know, it's a breathing thing, a living thing, and it's going to let you know what it wants. But I said I would rather go crazy making this record myself than go crazy watching someone else try to make it.
I love that saying.
And
I know you just alluded
It's
to it.
that's about as straightforward as it needs to be.
And I did. I mean, I didn't. You talk about like no days off. I mixed on Christmas Day. I mean, it was like, it was just go, 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 don't stop until it's finished. There were some moments of, just like with any creator, there can be moments of self-doubt, but I have these guys to talk me out of that, and.
And the record sounds, the word I use a lot with this is it's necessary. Like the sound is urgent, and the sound is very now. I think a lot of times, and don't get me wrong either, we all collectively, we've been very, very fortunate because we've had some amazing teachers. We've worked with some incredible producers and some amazing engineers. We brought Doug McKean in to engineer, part of Attention alongside Eric. But, just looking at the scope of everything, sometimes you hear the same people are doing the same records, or you see that what we wanted to do was, he had a sound in his head, and we all talked about it, but there were moments where it's like, we didn't even need to speak to one another because we were already finishing each other's sentences musically, and material and songs and lyrically. That was one of the most rewarding things for me, working with the four of them, because they really pushed me, being the main lyricist in the band, but we all contributed to this record because it's about us, but it's big, man, and it sounds, it's
a huge record.
It's definitely a necessary album.
Yeah. It's a weird question, but when I was going through, I listened to it, because this is, I don't want to call it a concept album, but there are...
We call it a story album.
Story album.
That's how we
Yeah.
kind of
And
put
it's
it
cool
out
because the
there.
album kind of bookends itself, right? It
does, yeah.
So it's a really cool listening experience, and it's one that sort of commands you to listen to it all the way through. I don't think anyone should, if you go out on May 4th and pick it up, I don't think you should pick and choose. I think you should really listen to it from front to back.
It was intended to be listened to, at least the beginning, when you listen to the record. We wanted people to understand that if you want to get the full interpretation of it, it may be difficult to do if you, I used to do this thing back in the day where I would get a record, and I don't know why I did it, I just would do it. I found that for whatever reason, the number 6 song on an album was always a great song for some reason. So I would always start with whatever the 6th track was.
So
That's what I'd
weird.
start with.
Okay.
And, we want people to have their favorites off of this record, and that means a lot to us also, but we wanted to take people on a ride, man. And it's a ride.
And that's another, going back to the rock and roll thing, rock fans love albums, and you're in such a single-driven market now where some artists don't even get to make a record anymore. They just record a few singles and that's it. And this was sort of a throwback to the things that I loved about, the experience of listening to an album, and especially one that's a larger story.
Yeah.
It's once again, we thought about the fan base, and also kids that might not have ever listened to an album before. You know, they're on Spotify and they're just clicking through song after song after song, and you present them with something like this, and they Brent makes a great point. I didn't know you could do this.
Wait a minute. You mean there's another way to experience listening to music?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
This would be a hell of a first album to ever listen to, by the way.
Thank you.
I would love that.
That'd be incredible.
And it's interesting too when you talk about like downloads and you talk about streaming, and we've seen other artists, whether they're in a band or they're a soloist, and all different, types of, music, different genres. But for us, man, rock and roll is not a genre of music. Rock and roll is a way of life for us.
Attitude.
It is totally an attitude. And, when we look at this, the younger generation, they didn't grow up necessarily with CDs or even cassettes or however you want to look at it. But it's interesting to see, especially like right around 12 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're figuring out like what vinyl is and figuring out it's interesting, the relationship between holding it. You know what I mean? Because where I come from and where all of us come from is I wanted to know what the lyrics were. I wanted to know who wrote what. I wanted to know, where did you record it? Who recorded it? Who produced it?
Right.
Who did the artwork? What does the band look like?
I wouldn't be sitting on this stage right now if it weren't for that. If I couldn't have
Yeah.
looked at records and gone, who produced this and who mixed it, because that's what I was into when I was a kid. It was
Totally.
like I was the recording aspect of things.
Yeah.
That made me want to have my name on something like that. So I went out and learned those skills, and those skills are the reason why I ended up in this band.
Yeah.
And eventually ended up producing this record and mixing it. I wouldn't be standing on this stage if it weren't for holding something in my hand and going down the rabbit hole of who worked on it and who played what and how it was done and so hopefully maybe one day, some kid will go, who's this jackass Eric Bass who produced this thing?
Perfectly described.
When I flip over Attention on May 4th, will I see that 15-year-old's name as like an executive producer on the album?
He should be, actually.
Yeah. He's on there.
Hopefully one day he'll be the
minutes?
prime minister of the UK or something. He sounds
Yeah.
like my kind of guy.
His name is
yeah.
Eric Rickert.
There you
He's
go.
on there.
Is that really his name?
No.
Oh.
That's my assistant at the
His
studio.
assistant engineer.
I do want to
Rickard just got a
shout
did,
out
man.
a plug
As a
for Eric
15-year-old boy.
Eric Rickert has been working with me for about 15 years. So he and I are great friends. He has a lot of him in this record too. So.
That's rad. I do want to get to the fans. We're going to get to some studio audience questions, but I do want to talk really briefly about the co-headlining tour this summer with Godsmack.
Yeah, we're
which
stoked.
is going to be so
Super
rad.
excited.
You're doing like amphitheaters. I know you're hitting the PNC out in Jersey. You're doing the, I don't know what they call it now, out in Long Island, but Jones Beach essentially.
Yeah.
Jones Beach.
But that's going to be amazing, guys.
Yeah, and it's a lot of camaraderie too. Sully, frontman for Godsmack, gave me a call in December of last year because I had actually kind of put it out because I was pretty sure like what the timing was going to be for the summer for 2018 and where we were going to be and what have you. I talked to Eric and I talked to Barry and I talked to Zach about it. But we really just wanted to tour with a band that, had a catalog. And we hadn't had a chance to tour with them in a while. And it's more about a camaraderie, man, and really doing something this summer where you've got two bands that, once again, because of a very strong fan base, there's a lot of material. And he could not have been more genuine and such a gentleman on the phone with me when he gave me a shout in December, and he was just like, man, I'm into it if you guys are. And that's really just how it all started. We just want to give everybody this summer, we want to give them a tour that's really, really exciting and super, super fun and crazy over the top. Just what rock and roll really is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting ready to do for everybody.
That's rad. Good times for sure, guys. Let's get to some of these fan questions. Where will the first one be coming from? In the back over here.
So I have kind of a personal question for the three of you guys.
Sure.
So it seems like Shinedown never stops working. There's not a time I can go to the Shinedown website and not find a tour, albeit Shinedown or Smith & Myers or whatever's going on.
What was that other thing you said? I didn't recognize that. What's Smith & Myers?
So it's literally nonstop with you guys. One, how do you do it? And how do you find time for your families and for yourselves?
We do it because we're compelled to do it, to be honest with you. I think as we've gotten a little bit older, we've learned what the meaning of, kind of burning the candle at both ends means. And, you can spread yourself a little too thin. I think we're better at scheduling things now. I think that we can kind of look at a year and map it out just because it's experience. We know what we want to accomplish. Anytime that you're getting ready to embark on a brand new album, it's a brand new journey. So you don't necessarily want to do the same things you've done in the past, and you want to be able to, one of the things about attention from the touring aspect this time around is it's very much a global record. There's 7 billion people on this planet, and we want to play for all of them. So there's a lot more international going on in this 3-year trajectory, if you will, because we kind of we see it all the way through the cycle, going all the way to 2020. So with that, you have to be able to have a dynamic. Not only the 4 of us, because we have families, and then we have our crew. So. But in answer to your question, it's important to be out there and be relevant, but I think we make better decisions now in regards to the schedule.
Smarter, not harder.
Yeah, we try anyway.
We try to work smarter, not harder.
We're working on the smarter.
We're working on the smarter, and we still do the harder. So we're trying to figure. To me, the first year of any record you release is going to be a lot of work, and 3 of us have kids and 3 of us are married. So it definitely gets harder as you get older.
We always say you're either built for this or you're not, and that also goes for our spouses. And I mean, my wife Kelly and I have been together for 24 years, married for 15. So she's learned this as I've learned it, which is a blessing for me because she just takes everything in stride. It's just our life. It's just how it is. I imagine that if
And you were already fully in marriage before you joined.
I was,
the band.
yeah.
So it was like
Yep.
My wife just oh, by the way, this is what I do. Sorry.
But the thing is we've all got the 3 of us who are married, Zach, myself, and Barry. We have very understanding wives, and
Yes.
they know this is what we do. And we also don't have rock star wives. We don't have, none of our wives are ever going to be on the wives of any city. The wives of New York or the rock star wives of where they're very, very normal people, and they don't give 2 shits about what we do either.
No, yeah.
I get home and it's, hey, the porch needs to be fixed or the grass needs to be mowed or whatever,
And we're not paying somebody to do it. You're doing it.
So with that comes, and it's not always roses. I mean, they get frustrated about schedules and look at all these dates. And I mean, I'm not going home till September, so pretty much.
Yeah.
But we have a great support system outside of each other that really helps with that.
Definitely. And before we get to the next question, I didn't notice the patches, guys. Are these are attention patches?
Yes, but
They're
not,
statements.
This is
Statements
kind
more
of
than
like our.
anything.
Are they available for fans? Because I'm sure fans are watching at home.
They'll
They're
be
seeing
available pretty
We'll,
soon.
we'll make
right.
similar ones available. I don't know.
It's our
Lauren,
outlaw motorcycle club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
them. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's rad.
we ride 3-wheelers.
Yeah.
No, so
They ride 3-wheelers.
wanted
I still ride a big wheel.
we wanted to be uniformed for the tour, so we got together and we kind of came up with a bunch of jackets, and he has the South Carolina patch on his. Brent and I have the Tennessee on ours.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it's kind of this uniform type thing that we do on stage. We didn't want to, we've been wearing suits on stage for a long time, like with the vest and the tie and the blazer and all that. So we wanted to do something different, but still felt like us, but also made a statement. And I think that's kind of where.
And we're gonna evolve that too as this record cycle goes on as well. But this is this is a nice way to start it.
Yeah. No, I dig it for sure. Let's get to the second question coming from right here.
So this question's for the whole band, which is all your music, but in particularly The Sound of Madness, really influenced what I love about music and like how music like relates to me. So I was wondering, is there any albums or artists that influenced you and created your love for music?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For me, you too, just as a band and as a statement. We talk about statement bands. To me, people who write amazing songs and make you feel something, and also, try to make the world a better place. If you can do all 3 of those things while kind of walking a line of both sides and not, stretching too far across. We were talking about this on the way here. We never want to alienate our audience into any belief that we have, because our audience is so very diverse. You know, we want everybody to, you know, Eric said this, one of the last things he said in the car days was he's for humanity. And I'm the same way. You know, I don't care what you believe or what you don't believe, but it's like, it's about humanity. And I think U2's been, you know, my brother calls them the world's band. They're the band of the world. So for me, U2 was a big influence in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on all the glam and, you know, rock and roll excess of the 80s and those bands.
Poison influenced your lifestyle.
Hey, and he's not
true.
lying.
He
Actually,
loves
I played guitar because I heard "Talk Dirty to Me" on the radio.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, that's what made me want a guitar. That
remember
sound, you know, for whatever reason, I was just at that age where I was sitting in front of a stereo all the time, listening to whatever was on top 40, you know, and that's what was popular at the time. So, but yeah, man, like I talked about Van Halen earlier. I mean, that band for me coming up was huge. Both iterations of it, you know, Van Hagar, Van Halen, whatever. You know, I consumed all of it, and even to this day, though, like I hear records that inspire me from current bands, and it causes me to, you know, there's a band from the UK called Dead, and not DED, but DEAD, and they're sort of under the radar right now, but they have a great record out. And called The Golden Age of Not Even Trying. And they're sort of like a punk rock thing, you know, and I'm really into their record.
It's a fantastic record.
And they're a bunch of, you know, 20-year-old kids, man, and I'd probably fanboy a little bit talking to them about their record because it's really effing cool, you know. And so
They hit you up the other day.
they did, man. They offered to send me a vinyl, which is awesome, you know. You know, we meet fans in meet and greets where they'll say things like, you don't know what your music means to me. And I say, well, yeah, I do, you know, because I have those artists that I love, and their music means a lot to me, too. So just know that, you know, that we know exactly what you guys mean when you say that, because music gets us through the day and through our lives just like it does you guys. So
My dad had a lot to do with it. I was totally just into singers that just were aggressive and had an attitude, and you know, but when I was 14, my dad gave me an anthology tape of a guy named Otis Redding, and
he's always got the coolest answers, doesn't he?
he I kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit at my father when he handed it to me. He was like, just give it a chance. And the moment that I heard that, an entirely new world kind of opened up. And Otis Redding got me to Sam Cooke, which got me to Al Green, which got me to Percy Sledge, which got me to Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye got me to Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday got me to Ella Fitzgerald. Ella Fitzgerald got me to newly inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Nina Simone. And I think it was none of these people were desensitized. They just evoked an emotion when they sang. So R&B and Motown became a huge, huge influence. You were talking a minute ago about attitude. One of the stories that I or interviews that while we were making Attention, I read was one of Miles Davis's last interviews before he passed away. And the interviewer asked him, he said, how do you feel that jazz is like the mutt of music? And Miles Davis said, well, I think you got that all wrong, man, because the music's in you or it's not. And it wasn't that statement, it was the next statement that he made, which was, listen, if you're gonna tell a story, tell it with some attitude. And, you know, that kind of stayed with us, you know, during this whole process of making this album. But for me, and what really, really gets me going, man, is when I can hear the conviction in the vocal, and if the story is real. So I don't know if that helps out, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Just to remind you, I said poison.
This is the best.
Your timing is impeccable.
He's always got the best answers, man.
You've gotten better at your comedic timing, by the way. It's really good.
We have time for one final question from the fans.
Make it good, no pressure.
No
Don't be the
pressure.
poison of questions.
Oh man.
First, I want to thank you guys for doing the interview. This is awesome. We're like kids in a candy store here.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for showing up.
Great. My question is, I've seen you many times. I've seen you with so many different bands. Who is the most memorable or the most fun to tour with?
It depends on what era of Shinedown you're talking about. Are you talking about the like the pirate ship era, like we're doing all the things we shouldn't be doing era, or are you talking about like now where we're choir
Where we
boys,
remember
right?
things.
Where we're sober.
For me, we got to tour Canada with Kiss. That was really cool. And I wasn't even that big of a Kiss fan before that. And then it was like watching that band.
He
do
does
what
the
they
best
do.
Paul Stanley impression
I
of
do.
anybody.
I'm not
I
going
know
to do it
that.
right
Do
now.
it right now. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Ah.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it. Finish this answer as Paul Stanley.
I
This will be
can't.
great.
I can't. Like on stage, Paul Stanley?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't because I love Paul and I don't want Paul to watch
Keep going.
this.
Keep going.
So for me, it was that and Iron Maiden. I mean, and we got to play some shows with Metallica in 2013 in Europe, and that was really a lot of fun for me just to kind of watch these bands who are legends. And also, it said a lot for us as a band because you're talking about, when you talk about Metallica and you talk about Kiss, you talk about Iron Maiden, you are talking about, and to me it is undisputed, the three most dedicated fan bases, period, end of story. And people ask about Kiss. Kiss has to be the hardest fan base, and it was tough to crack, and they were hard. Metallica the same way. Iron Maiden has the toughest fan base I've ever seen because Iron Maiden fans like Iron Maiden, period. Like, I don't think they listen to other bands. Like, they just like
What is it
Iron
that
Maiden.
Henry Rollins said that when you're on stage
You're
opening
just-
for Iron Maiden, you're just something that's between them and Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
that's all
you are. And then, but it was a great experience to see these people who only like one band, it seems, come up to you in a city on a day off and go, I really like your band. And you're like, really? I see you in the first row every night. You're expressionless. You don't make any, they would just literally sit there, arms folded. The rest of the crowd, the front row of Iron Maiden is the front line of a war. Like, it truly is. I mean, they're the most hardcore, more hardcore than Kiss fans, more hardcore than Metallica fans. It is like a danger zone. You're like, they might throw something at me. I have no idea what's going to happen.
But to that note, though, by the third or fourth song of our set every night, because we have this gentleman who's one of the best frontmen in rock and roll,
Refuses to give up.
and that permeates us, and it gets into us too, and we all take on that attitude of no, you're not getting away with this. We're gonna get you. And I don't think there was a single Iron Maiden show that we didn't have we didn't have the crowd by the third or fourth song, and the hands in the air, jumping up and down, doing. It almost felt like a Shinedown show, And
It felt like your first tour too. It felt like these people didn't know your songs. It doesn't matter if you had 22 hits. They know none of them.
But there were this one guy in particular who I saw down in the front row in the first show. He just arms crossed and he's just staring at you the whole time. And then the next night he was kind of like this, And then by the third show he was kind of relaxed a little bit, enjoying it. He was at every single show. Like, this guy doesn't have a job or anything. And
They take their holiday over there to follow
Works
Iron
6
Maiden.
months out of the year and then tours with Iron Maiden the other 6.
But by the last 3 or 4 shows, he was singing every word to our songs, and that means so much, to do
I
that.
gotta give, and I'm gonna do it because I learned a tremendous amount of production. Just the idea and like the dynamic of putting production together, like really like looking at your audience, what the songs are gonna do, the lighting, the video, pyrotechnics, lasers, however you want to look at it. But in 2000, I think it was 2010 or 2009, 2010, Nickelback took us out. And you know what? That band, I didn't know, I knew the songs and all that. This is right when there's a song you may have heard of, it's called Second Chance. And it was crossing all 5 formats. That song actually crossed, it became a #1 on alternative, on mainstream, on active, hot AC. and we almost got it on top 40. We were number 2. We couldn't get the Black Eyes Peas, I think. But it was
Where are they now?
We
though?
did get the Casey Kasem thing though.
But we did get the Casey Kasem thing with Second Chance, which was, if you know who Casey Kasem was and is.
Was.
Right. I hate.
I didn't know if you knew that.
I hate the fact that Casey's gone.
He feels like one of those guys that's still here, though.
I
He truly
know.
does. It's
He really,
it's
really
like John
does.
Candy. Like you feel like
We always have
here.
Shaggy on Scooby Doo.
When-
Casey Kasem.
When Casey Kasem signed off the air, the number 1 song in the country, this was the last time that he was on the radio. He signed off after 30 plus years. Second Chance was the number 1 song
Yes,
in
we're
the
the
United
last song,
States.
yeah.
So it was the last.
We were his last number 1.
It was the last song that because it was the number 1 song.
It was his last one.
That's
But-
a hell of a trivia fact.
Yeah, man.
It's
I love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
But when we were out there with Nickelback, just being able to, and we were kind of having to just, it was, that production was huge. So we were very, very respectful around everyone. We were the second of 4 bands. I believe it was Sick Puppies, then us, then Breaking Benjamin, and then Nickelback. But watching what they did and how they did things and where the placement was in each song and how Chad would work the audience, how they all would work the audience, everything had a reason for being there. And Oris Henry, who was their front of house engineer, who kind of has a in the industry, he's a very unique cat. He's an amazing front of house engineer.
He's straight out of the movie Rockstar.
He totally is.
Like, totally.
I mean, like right before they go on, he's got stuff hanging off of the soundboard. He's staging everything.
Lighting candles.
Can't get near him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he, like, 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, because we did 2 months with him. And he kept seeing me out there, on the barricade around front of house. And he looked at me one night and he was like, "Come here." And he was like, "You want to come in here?" And I was like, "If you don't mind." He was like, "Come on." So like by the end of the tour and everything, he had a chair out there for me every night. And I would sit and he would show me how he was mixing certain things. He had no problems telling me how he was doing certain stuff and how he was, because they sound insane live. They really, really do. They are just really powerful. And it comes down to this. They're pros. They are the definition of professional. And I learned a lot from that tour. It's, looking at how they did certain things. And, I remember the very first time that I mentioned the word pyro in 2012, and everybody in management was like, "Oh my God, no." Like, because, every time we blow up something, they're all
very
going
expensive.
like, "There's $1,000.
There goes
$1,000.
Every time you hear that boom, that's a car payment.
Yeah. 100%. Every single thing that goes off in a pyro show is a house payment.
Yeah. So
They taught me a lot. They taught us all a lot.
And I mean, Mike Kroger, Chad's brother.
Saw him
A lot
that
of people don't know, but Chad's the face of the band. Mike's the brains, and he's the guy that kind of formulates everything, does all the business, and he's also a bass player, which makes him super awesome.
Yeah.
But every night
We won't hold that against him.
Into the show, off stage, right into the accounting office. He's actually a friend of mine, and we talk occasionally about. I actually ask him about business stuff a good bit. He's a really, really smart guy. So I think it's ridiculous that people give Nickelback a bad rap. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing.
We will always stand up for that. I'm going to look in the camera. We will always stand up for that band forever, just because we learned, like Brent said, we learned so much from them. And all it was they just got so big.
The most played song of the 2000s,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's like, you get too big, and it's like, to me, that'll never be a problem.
I
Getting
do,
too
though-
big is not a bad thing, I don't think.
I do personally have one thing, though, that kind of I think it'll always be number 1. But back in 2003, for the debut album, Leave a Whisper, we were out with Van Halen. And I didn't grow up listening to Van Halen. And for whatever reason, me and Eddie Van Halen kind of hit it off. And there was one afternoon where he asked me to come into his dressing room, and he showed me how to play Eruption. And that one's probably one of those moments that are kind of like up there.
See, It's because you told him the Otis Redding story.
Yeah, yeah.
He thinks it's cool.
Remember,
I wasn't
he
in the
likes
band
Poison.
yet, so I didn't get to experience that. That's really cool, though. I never knew that.
I feel like we could.
I didn't know about the eruption. I knew about the deli tray.
I asked him, well, yeah, the deli tray.
We don't want to talk about the deli tray.
But it was so funny, man, because it was like, you know, I asked him. I was like, how do you get it to? It was the tapping. I was like, what are you doing? You know, are you just like tapping on a string? And he showed me. He was like, well, let me show you. And you know, for whatever reason, I'm not tapping. I'm doing this, and he's doing like an upswing with his finger. And just that simple movement is what gives Eruption its sound when he goes into that part, which I just thought was really ingenious, but very simple.
That's incredible. I feel like we could probably talk literally for hours, guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time right now, but
thank you so much for having us.
No, please, this was awesome and great crowd, really. One of the best we've had. The record is out and available everywhere. May 4th, attention. Shinedown, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you guys
very
for having
much.
us. And ladies, appreciate it.